Last set, best set.
The first time I met Devon, he was quiet. He had an awesome smile, and he was very motivated from the get-go. And I think his athleticism has really helped him learn how to move his body since his injury. And he had goals of going back, living alone, going back to college, walking again. So as a team, we've just been building on those, and he's gotten stronger. He's got some return below his level of injury, and we're just trying to facilitate that and make him as independent as he can be while he's here in day program.
Speaking about the injury that he had, what kind of physical changes has his body went through, and how has it changed? Like his muscularity, how has that changed for him?
That's a good question. So Devon sustained a very serious C6 level of injury to his spinal cord. So it affected his not only his leg movement but his arm movement. So Devon came into Shepherd with just he was able to flex his biceps, move his wrist, but not much below the level of injury. And since then, he's able to get some triceps, so he can extend his elbows now some. And we're seeing some flickers and some sensation return below his level of injury. So he definitely still has some strengthening to do and some balance work with his core, but he's getting better every day.
When you say you're seeing, below the waist, seeing some signs there, does that give him hope?
Definitely. I think that psychologically it's a huge deal when you're able to see your toe flicker, or you're feeling your abs help you when you're doing mat mobility or transfers, because with a complete level of injury you wouldn't see that. So I think that gives us hope. We don't really know what Devon will be able to accomplish, if he'll have full use of his hands or if he will be able to walk, but we're very hopeful for those things.
When you have the kind of injury that he has, when he has that kind of atrophy, does that come from the injury, or is that more comes from his immobilization from just laying in the bed for so long?
That's a good question. It's from both, actually, but mostly it's from the spinal cord injury itself. The pathways that innervate those muscles are damaged from the injury, and there is obviously some recovery happening, but we don't know what that will look like. And I think that he is back to where he would be. When you're in a hospital, you lose muscle mass quickly, like we were talking about earlier, but I think he's back to that.
I would imagine that some of your job is not just physical but psychological as well. I mean, you have to
yes.
overcome an awful lot, and I mean, you go through I would imagine he's going through different stages. I mean, you go through almost 7 stages, right?
Yeah, they absolutely do, and we try to help them each step of the way. And there's not one person on the team that doesn't deal with the emotional and the psychological aspect of someone's injury. We're here to encourage them, give them hope, with still being realistic about what they can accomplish and go back to. But it's our job to be their fan, their motivator, their counselor, whatever they need. It's the whole team's job.
So realistically, when you're talking about as far as movement, mobility, as far as how much you'll be able to get back, how long does something like that usually take, and how long does it take before you know how far you can basically take it?
That's the $1 million question about spinal cord injury. I wish I had a crystal ball, but every spinal cord injury is different. So just because Devon had an injury at C6, someone else might, and it might look very different. So you typically see the most recovery within 6 months up to 2 years after, but that's just typical. So we don't really know what it's going to look like.
What was the reaction? Let's begin with the injury. The day of the injury, what was the reaction around campus among the Southern family?
The team was just shocked and worried. They were scared, for their brother, and just worried because they were in the gray and didn't understand what was going on. They just saw him get carted off, and they just felt helpless.
So when the injury initially happened, was there did a lot of his teammates reach out to him and try to figure out what was going on?
They did. The night when we were in ICU, and I picked up his phone, and he had 100 text messages, 100 phone calls, and then they were writing. We have a team group me. So they were writing in that, like, Miss Lovey, can you tell me what's going on? They just wanted to know something. Is my brother okay? Let him know I'm praying for him.
How much in all of this, the University of Georgia, the Bulldog athletic program, has been involved with Southern? It's been a lot of help from them?
Yeah, a lot of help. Well, as an athletic trainer, I correspond with Ron Corson a lot. And Ron has been amazing. Even before we got here to play the game, he called because I was just starting out at Southern. And he called, he was like, whatever we can do for you, I want to help you. And he sent us everything we could know about the stadium in an email. And before the game, he met with us. But the University of Georgia has been amazing.
Now, moving forward, when Devon gets ready to go back to school, have there been any special provisions for him when he gets back to school at Southern?
That's actually what we're working on here today, looking around in this room to see what we can put in the weight room, so he can get in there and feel the ground with his team.
Guess they're anxious to get him back home. We understand a couple of weeks in Baton Rouge.
Very much so. We just started a countdown last week. Very much so, and I think he's anxious to see his teammates too. He told me the other night, he said, I just want to get off the plane and go straight to the field house.
It's funny. The one thing I noticed about the first time meeting that he is definitely a fighter. Has he always had that fighting spirit?
Yeah, as far as I know. I tell you, before the game, I was telling him, I noticed a player down on the ground praying. And I walked past, before the game, we're taping and getting stuff ready. Oh, this wrist tape is too tight. Can you redo it? So we're doing all of that. And I walked past 3 times. And the first time I thought it was one of the quarterbacks because he's always praying. And I noticed again later, the 3rd time, that it was Devon. So he's just always had that good, strong spirit.
Coming up on Friday, that's tomorrow at 9 a.m., Hugh and I are going to have Devon in studio. We're going to have him in for the full hour and talk to him, his mom, and get his story on what he's been going through. It's coming up tomorrow at 9 a.m. live on 92.9 The Game.